And yeah, welcome back to STEP. I know we have a lot of returners, but again, please register for STEP. You can register for STEP at step.ucsd.edu on our website. You can also scan the QR code. Yeah, registering for STEP helps us with numbers to make sure that everybody who wants information about STEP is getting it. But yeah, definitely make sure that you're registered for STEP. And yeah, so we're almost at the end of STEP because the summer is kind of coming to an end. And so we have transfer talks and we have three more left. We've had a great set of webinars all summer, and we still have three great topics coming up. Next Wednesday, we'll be getting to and around UCSD. So this will be parking and transportation. So staff from parking and transportation is going to be talking and answering questions and giving a presentation about their services. I know that there's a lot of questions about those two topics. And then the Wednesday after that, getting jobs and getting involved. Ron Reyes from the Career Center is going to come back and talk about Handshake, where to apply for jobs. And then we will end STEP on September 2nd with a Transfer Hub presentation. So we're last. The Transfer Hub staff we're the office that has been putting on STEP all summer. And so you get to hear about our services now. And then we get to introduce the new Triton Center to you all and we have a new space. So it's exciting. All right. And then we have two Transfer Connects left. So just as a heads up, or if anybody here is RSVP'd to the in-person one, you already got that info. We already sent invites. If anybody is interested and you did not, let us know. You can email us, please. If you can't come to the in-person one, we recommend coming to the virtual one that's going to be on Monday. We're going to have the same content on both. The only difference is that one will be in person and we'll be providing lunch, and the other one will be just on Zoom. And then research and involvement series. So this will be on Fridays. And so we're kind of halfway through. But yeah, I have still some great topics. Study abroad is going to be next Friday. And then we'll end with experiential learning of like internships and learn about the UCDC program and more. All right. And then looking ahead, this is what we have on the schedule for ahead. So we have Transfers Connect, who is here to help. That's going to be Monday. Getting to and around campus, which is parking and transportation on Wednesday. And then next Thursday, we're going to have Who's Here to Help in person by RSVP only. And then, as always, we do have peer coaches available this summer if you're interested in talking to a current or recently graduated peer coach or transfer student. Yeah, if you have any questions, if you're kind of lost, we can help by directing you or walking you through things. And yeah, if we don't have the answer to your question, then we can find who might be. All right. And then the Transfer Hub, we are actively searching for 3 student assistants to start with us in fall quarter. Yeah, transfer student preferred, work study preferred. We are accepting applications and offering interviews on a rolling basis, but the hard deadline to submit is August 23rd, before midnight. So just as a heads up, definitely scan the QR code so you could look at the job description because we do have specific asks that you include in your cover letter. And yeah, and more detailed description there. So definitely check that out. Okay, and so on to today's topic, which is connect with UCSD professors. I wasn't able to disable the chat today, but please use the Q&A feature if you have questions, because then I can go over them at the end. So Q&A feature, not the chat, please, just so that I can make sure that we have like an organized way to collect your questions. Okay. And this is also like a meeting style. So It's not webinar, so you are also able to unmute and for today's session. All right, so how to connect to UCSD professors. We'll get right into it. So just a little disclaimer, I do have an activity ahead. Be ready to scan the QR code. We're going to do an activity to help you find professors. So just heads up, be ready to engage. I'll try to put some stuff in the chat for you as well. Okay, so we're here to talk about how to look up faculty, how to look for professors. Let me go back one. Just like as a little intro. Um, so yeah, we want to look for professors and faculty. I'm going to be the person that can support you throughout this process while your time here at UCSD. As my role is Transfer Research and Involvement Coordinator, so I work under the Transfer Hub. So I work only with transfer students, majority with transfer students. So I'm going to be that resource for you. I'll do my best to support you and guide you in getting into research, and that's going to be my goal. And I'll try to do what I can. But yeah, but a lot of it is going to be a lot of work that you put into it too. Okay, so the big question today is how to look up faculty. A couple of ways, and we're going to talk a lot about faculty, cold emailing, and also even a little bit on resumes in this session/workshop. And we're kind of a smaller group today, so again, you can unmute, but please use a Q&A if you are going to ask a question. Or you can unmute, but just, yeah, let's stay away from the chat just in case. So how to look up faculty, a couple of ways. You can go to office hours. I know we're in the summer right now, but once fall quarter or once you start at UCSD, whether it's fall quarter or winter quarter, office hours is going to be a resource for you. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Class. After class is also a good way to connect with faculty as well. And then there's also this faculty directory, profiles.ucsd.edu. So I'm going to just click, and I'm going to be moving in between presentations, between the presentation and between the web browser. So profiles.ucsd.edu, and I'm going to put that in the chat so that you all have this, is a search engine that you can use to look up faculty. Sometimes it's not the most reliable, I say, because sometimes it doesn't show a lot of professors, but it's also a good one. So let's go to, I looked up this professor earlier from bioengineering, Kiana Aran. We're going to click on Kiana Aran. And then it gives you some contact info, what area of UCSD they're from, and then also some publications, which could be helpful for you. And we'll talk about why publications of professors are important. But most importantly, we also have her email here as well on this. Oops, I hope that, there you go. So you can also use that email for cold emailing, and we'll get to that in just a bit. So profiles.ucsd.edu is a way to look up faculty. So let's check one out together. I just have bioengineering as an example here, but we can use it. We can do this with any major department website. So I'll check one out for you, and then you're going to try this on your own. So you're going to look for your major department website, and then you're going to locate the faculty webpage, and then you're going to click on the faculty profile, and then select lab website, although not all faculty will have a lab website linked, and that's okay. And then look for contact info. So this is also another way to look for faculty, and I like this one better than using profiles.ucsd.edu. Okay, so major department website. Let's say I'm a bioengineering major, but I've never visited my major department website. What can I do? Very simple, bioengineering, UCSD, and just Google that. And then usually it's going to be like the first or second search up here. Oh, actually, it's gonna be, there we go. And let's go to the home page. So the way that I know it's my major department website is usually this URL is bioengineering.ucsd.edu. What I like about UCSD websites is usually they're going to be simplified like that too. So if you're a psychology major, most likely your URL is going to be psychology.ucsd.edu. If you're a political science major, it's probably going to be politicalscience.ucsd.edu or something along those lines. So just like a general tip. Okay, so we're on your major department website, and step number 2 was to locate the faculty webpage. So I'm going to go under research. Sometimes it could be under undergraduate, but let's go to research, faculty profiles. Great. So it's led me to faculty profiles. So we can look at the list of them. Next, what I'm going to do is, okay, Brian Aguado is a professor at the bioengineering department. Let's check this out. So usually it will reroute you to this type of faculty profile, give you a summary of the professor, maybe their contact info, LinkedIn, their lab website. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see a headshot of them. Right under there, we want to click under their lab website. There you go. And this is the lab website for Professor Ryan Aguado, which says it's the engineering, biomaterials, etc. Right? So there's a little welcome. So what we're going to do is do some exploring, and I'm going to point out a couple of things for you. So let's go to team. Well, it loads a little bit. These pictures are not loaded. Okay, so team, it looks like there's pictures of team outings, maybe like a holiday party. I think I saw Knott's Berry Farm. It's not loading. We'll come back to that. So what we can look at is all the team members, and so you'll usually see that professor at the top of the team tab. And so Dr. Brian Aguado is the principal investigator. You'll also hear the term PI. It's gonna, in research and labs and stuff, it's gonna refer to the principal investigator. And you can think of this as Brian Aguado is like the director of this lab, which makes sense because he's the professor. So he's like the leading director, leading researcher, principal investigator. These are all terms that you might hear. So we'll keep going, and it looks like there's postdoctoral researchers, and these are researchers in this lab who have already obtained their PhD, so they're postdoctoral PhD candidates, so they're currently working on their doctoral degrees. We'll keep looking. Staff research associate, and then MS rotation student, so a master's student, another PhD student. Okay, and now this is the part that I wanted to show you all, was undergraduate student. Okay, we see that there is one undergraduate student that graduated class of 2026, so most likely graduated in June, maybe this summer. We'll keep going. There's another undergraduate student that's scheduled or going to graduate next year. That's good to know. Another undergraduate student, another undergrad, and then another. Good. And then some alumni as well. This is good. And I wanted to see this because if I'm a bioengineering undergraduate major and I'm interested in Brian Aguado's lab, and I see that other undergrads are here in this lab, this tells me that there might be an opportunity for me in the future to get involved in this lab. So that's just like another tip and something that I wanted to show, or that I encourage you to look at when you look at lab websites. Take a look at the team. Going back up here, we also see pictures of the team, outings. It looks kind of fun, pumpkin painting. Looks like they went to Knott's Berry Farm. This is all nice when professors include these type of pictures in on their lab website because then it tells me that, oh, it seems like this might be a friendly environment. It looks like the teammates or yeah, the lab mates are kind of close and that there's, an opportunity to make those type of connections. That might be important to you, maybe not so much, but just some things to consider as you're like scoping out the lab and the website. All right. Um, let's go somewhere else. So the tab for research looks like it kind of gives you a snapshot of the type of projects that they have going on in this lab and what they've done so far. I recommend going through that. Publications, and so this looks like publications that either Brian Aguado's lab and associates have been part of, and so also something, yeah, you see Professor Aguado's name in all of these, linked to the paper. That kind of gives you an idea of the type of work that they do. And if you're interested in research and you're like, oh, Brian Aguado might be the person to go to because he has published papers in this topic, right? And then we're going to skip to undergraduate research. So it says, are you interested in undergraduate research in the Guava Lab? Please click the link before and let's check it out. And it looks like it sends us to an interest form to fill out and having your resume attaching and also maybe some short answers of why you would like to be involved with this lab. Cool. Some labs are nice and will give that information on how to, submit interest, but some labs will also not have that information, and that's okay too. So let's go to contact. If Professor Aguado didn't have that tab and just kind of had this contact information, what we can do is we can get his email, baaguado@ucsd.edu, and then send them a cold email. All right. Okay, going back. So we did this together, which was we looked at the major department website, we located the faculty webpage, we clicked on the faculty profile, looked for the lab website, and then we found some contact info. So yeah, I think that's kind of like the way that I would recommend looking up faculty, regardless of whatever major you are, even if you're in a non-STEP social sciences, that's also the same way that you can follow. Okay, so looking for lab green flags to look out for. So we kind of talked about this, right? So one green flag that we saw in the Guava lab was, did we see any previous or current undergraduate mentioned? And yes, this is a sign that they're open to having undergrads. If they currently have or previously had undergrads, there's a chance for you. A join us or contact us tab or contact info. So yes, we found this too on the lab website right now. It gives us possible information on how to get involved with the research. And then they also gave us directions on how to apply, right? So we looked at that Google interest one. And then number 3, photos of the lab out at celebrations where lab folks are now. So we saw that, right? We saw that the lab mates kind of had some outings together. Again, gives you insight on the type of environment, culture that research lab will have. And it also, yeah, gives you a good fit if it's for you and vice versa. Again, maybe that's something that you want to develop. You're like, I want to develop a close connection with my lab mates. Maybe you're like, we'll see. Like, doesn't really, maybe it doesn't really matter to you. That's also okay too. So anyways, just some green flags to look out for. Okay, so now is activity time. I'm going to have you try it yourself. So what you're going to do is you're going to scan this QR code. I will also send the link to this in the chat in just a bit. And you're going to locate the profile of a faculty in your major department website the same way I just did it. So hopefully you're paying attention and you're able to do it now. But I think this is going to be good practice so that you are able to do this on your own and at least look for one faculty profile, assuming that if you're in this webinar or this meeting, your goal is to get in contact with a professor at some point during your time at UCSD. Okay. So if you scan the QR code, it's going to take you to this web page, and I'm just going to put it in the chat right now to everybody. So it should start with undergraduate majors at UC San Diego, and you're going to look for your major department website. Okay, and I will give you all like 3 minutes to complete. All right, let me know if there's any questions. All right, how are we doing? You folks need more time? I think I saw somebody say yes. Okay, I'll give it one more minute. All right. Awesome. Um, Anybody feel inclined to share who they found from what department? Yeah, Joshua, go for it.
I think I did it. So I went to the computer science um, webpage, and there was a research button, which I think is useful because I clicked that, and there's a whole bunch of research topics that are currently going on. And then I selected um, Henrik. I hope I'm
Okay.
saying his name properly. Henrik Christensen. And he had a nice Flickr homepage of him in a robot. But I'm not really seeing a lot of that like outgoing activities like yours or other students below that. And especially since it's a Flickr and not a UCSD, I don't know if I went too far out.
If he's a UCSD faculty, I would say, or professor, I would say that's great progress. And you said that you came across other research opportunities. I think that's good. If you didn't see like how to apply as a lab assistant, no worries, as long as you can get his email. We'll talk about cold emailing in a bit, but love it. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to find something. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else feel inclined to share or maybe have a question or had some trouble? Go for it, Noah.
Hmm. Well, originally in the dance theater and dance department, I know one of the professors who teaches hip hop, and also at San Diego City College,
Mhm.
which
That
is
is really
Grace
cool.
Jun.
Okay, nice. That's good. I like that you kind of like there's you already made a connection with a professor because they were at your community college. So that's good too. It's always nice, and we'll talk about cold emailing. So maybe in the future you can send them an email and be like, "Hey, like I was a one of your students at City College, or I know you from my community college." So that's always nice. Great.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for sharing. We'll move on. So hopefully that was helpful in helping you find, um, yeah, some faculty. But yeah. All right. So I mentioned cold email earlier. So let's say you weren't able to find any specific research opportunities or you're having a hard time, but you found a professor and you found like what kind of they do, and you're like, oh, this person sounds interesting. Um, what you can do is send a cold email. And a cold email is email you sent to first time email you sent to a recipient without prior contact. And I'm going to say majority of you, maybe with the exception of Noah, are probably in this position where you don't have prior contact with UCSD professors because you're just starting, right? It's the summer. Some of you are starting in fall quarter, some of you are starting in winter quarter. So I'm going to assume that most of you are going to be in this position. Know that cold emailing is something that is common to do. And that's something that I would suggest that you do as well too. And we'll talk about what to put in your cold email as well. But just wanted to introduce that for now. Something else that might be helpful is office hours. So what are office hours? Um, Professors may set designated times outside of class and lecture for students to ask questions about course material or to just kind of talk and get to know each other. It could also be an opportunity for professional development, right? Like you can ask them how they got to, the place that they're at, what's their education history, what kind of experiences do they have? So it could also be a time for you to get to know them, and that could be in turn helpful for you. Yeah, so again, you can get this time, you can use this time to get to know them, ask them about their research, their career path, and hopefully that could also be in turn helpful for you. I do want to have you remember that each professor is different. Some will be really eager and will encourage vocally that to come to their office hours and get to know them. Some of them may not. So it's good to kind of like if you're taking classes with a certain professor, see what it is that they say about office hours. But for the most part, office hours are supposed to be there a time for you. So I definitely recommend utilizing office hours if it's being offered. Okay, so virtual meeting versus in person. So when we're talking about meeting with professors, yeah, or faculty at UCSD, some things to consider if you're like, should I do a virtual meeting or should I meet in person? Um, depends what the professor would like. But here's some things to consider for each. If you're doing a virtual meeting, it is nice because it allows for flexibility in busy schedule. So when you start at UCSD, you're probably going to be a little busy. Professors are always usually pretty busy too. And so sometimes a Zoom option, a virtual option is nice because it allows for flexibility for schedules. Sometimes when you meet briefly over Zoom, it could also lead to an in-person meetup, which might be nice too. Another benefit of virtual is you can do it from anywhere, right? You could be home, you could be on campus, maybe the professor is home, or maybe they're out of state or, in another country. So, and sometimes it does happen because sometimes professors take leaves for certain quarters and they might be maybe teaching a class abroad or something like that. Or maybe they're just taking a break and they're, in their hometown or whatever it may be. So anyways, virtual options can give you that. Doesn't have to be on campus. And sometimes when it's virtual, you can also send materials easier, right? Like you can put links in the chat, like your resume or cover letter or something like that. So yeah, that's always nice. Um, if you're opting for an in-person, in my opinion, I think that sometimes that provides a basis for more organic conversation to kind of flow. Sometimes on Zoom it could be a little choppy, right? But sometimes a little more organic. Sometimes it also feels a little bit more personable if you do it in person too, right? Like you meet up on campus or maybe you go to their office, and you get to see, where the office is located, which is another point I put here for in person is like if a professor has their office in the department of your major, it's good to kind of know where that building is and to kind of yeah, to see it in person. And in person, you can invite a professor to coffee on campus. At the end of the presentation, I'll talk about what this means, but there is a program where you can get like funding to invite a professor to campus and you'd be able to pay, right? Which is, I think, very nice and like, again, sets up the mood for like a personable meeting. So anyways, pros and cons to both, things to consider for both virtual meeting versus in person. Maybe one option is, maybe you're like, I, have kids and I can't really do in person. That's okay. Virtual can maybe might be the option for you. And if you're in person, you're like, no, I like talking to people, in person, like it feels better. You can opt for in person. So just some things to consider. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of like what you include in a cold email. So I'll go step by step of what to put in your cold email um, to a professor. So let's say you did the search on your own and you found like a handful of professors that you want to send a cold email to, and you're like, I want to start this connection, right before fall quarter, which is, by the way, when I recommend, if you are all starting in fall quarter, I recommend sending cold emails right before fall quarter starts. So right now it might be a little too early because it is summer and some professors might be like off contract, so they're not working. So they might not be checking their inbox right now. So I would say a nice place is like right before the quarter starts, the week before. And the quarter starts, I believe, September 21st. So that week before, I think will be a great time. And that's a month away. So you have time to prepare your resume, your cold emails. Yeah. Okay, so back to the cold email breakdown. We'll start basic with the greeting. So yeah, something like Dear Professor Smith, You can also use doctor as well. So we want to keep it a professional greeting. I say this because you don't want to be like, hey, John, or hey, Samantha, whatever. You want to keep it professional. Next, your intro. So this could be like 2 sentences, and you're going to introduce yourself, your name, your major, your future aspirations, and then maybe how your major or future aspirations connect to research. So I put a couple of examples that you can see up there. Um, Example number one is of what you can say for how your major or future aspirations connect to research. I hope to pursue a PhD in psychology after graduation, and I'm very interested in gaining research while at UCSD. For example, two, I'm a biology major hoping to gain clinical research experience to prepare for medical school. I'm going to assume that maybe a lot of you are in this position, right? Or something like that. So yeah, just some examples of how you can format that. And then we're going to think about the body of your email, right? So about like 4 sentences. Appeal to the researcher. Why are you interested in their lab? What is interesting or what experience do you have that relates to their study? So here is where you want to have done some homework already. At this point, you should have, looked up a couple of professors, checked out their publications. If they have lab websites, look through that. Inform yourself as much as you can about the professor, because then you can tie in readings from their lab website or maybe a past research project you worked on. Link, try to connect what research they're doing to something maybe you are interested in, or maybe you learned in class. This is good because it'll mention that you show critical thinking and reasoning. And it, again, demonstrates that you did your homework and you looked them up, and that this is like a very specific email that you sent to the professor and not like a mass email you sent to the whole department, right? So that's gonna maybe catch their attention. I also put an example there of what you can write. So you can say, I have looked through your website and saw you lead research in brain cognition of children. I'm very interested in this topic since I took a child development course in community college and learned about social learning in infancy. I would be interested to explore language development in infants research as I learned from your lab website. So that this couple of sentences tells me that this student looked at their lab website, saw what type of research the professor did, but also kind of connected it to a course they took at their community college, and then what they want to, their goals in terms of research and what they want to explore. So that's a good example of that. And then you kind of want to wrap it up too, once you're done with your 4-ish sentences. And then this is where it depends what your intention is behind this cold email. Um, Maybe for a lot of you here, your intention is that you just kind of want to get into a research lab, you want to get your foot in the door. For others, maybe you want to ask this professor to be your mentor for a research program. Or maybe you just want to meet with them in person now. So depends, right? Think about what your intention is. And I put some examples here, down here. So example one, is there a time in the coming weeks that I can meet in person or over Zoom with you? Number two, do you have office hours that I would be able to attend in the coming weeks? So yeah, you kind of want to make it easy for the professor in letting them know what it is you would like out of this full email. Okay. Okay, so, and then you want to wrap it up, right? And say something professional and nice, like, thank you for your time. Thank you in advance. Sign your name and then your PID, or I should say TSN. Um, and I just say TSN because your student ID number, it's not a deal breaker if you don't include it, but sometimes I say to include it so that the professor knows that, you're a student, you're an enrolled student at UCSD. Okay, So let's say you worked on your drafting your cold email, you have the emails and have identified the professors that you would like to send it out to, and it looks good and you feel good. A bonus is that you can attach your resume to your cold email. If your resume needs work and you don't feel confident about it, I say don't include it. But if you feel good about it and maybe you did the resume workshop last week or you had somebody look it over, right? Then I would include your resume. And then speaking of resumes, if you haven't had a chance to do a resume yet, or maybe you're looking to update it, last Friday we had a resume workshop where Ron from the Career Center gave us some really good resume basics on how to prepare it. So that recording is on YouTube. It's so we do have that on there, and it's also on our website as well. So definitely recommend looking back at that resume workshop. It's going to be helpful in the foundations of resume. Okay, so I saw this question in the Q&A and I would like to answer it. And I think it's a great answer and very valid. Um, if you do not have research experience, that is no problem. So this is just like a snapshot of a research example is this is from a student years ago, and she also was like, didn't have research experience, which is totally fine. It's okay not to have research experience, and I'll talk a little bit more of that in a bit. But what she did do was she included related experience or relevant coursework section on her resume. And she looked back at her, transcripts and her college courses that she took in community college and was added her lab courses and any courses that she thinks was relevant for the research that she was interested in. And that's what I recommend for you, which I'm going to assume that a lot of you are kind of in this position where think back to the courses you took at your prior institution, whether you came from a community college or another UC or another four-year university. You probably had to take a lab course at least, and other courses. So think about your lab courses, what did you do in your lab? What did you do in the lab? What kind of experiments did you perform? What tools or equipments did you use? Did you work in a group, independently, or both? What did you learn and what skills did you gain? Right? So those are for my lab folks. For my non-lab folks, maybe my social sciences people, you can include your lab if you think it's relevant, but you can also include other major related courses that you think would be important. So this student also included business psych course, description of the course, what skills or topics did you learn, if applicable, any big projects or research papers. So just some things to think about. And again, it's okay not to have research experience because you're just starting at UCSD and there's not an expectation for you to have a long resume of research already because you're here at UCSD to gain that experience, right? So don't worry. A lot of people are also in the same boat as you, and I'm gonna bet that majority of the people in this Zoom are also in this boat. So that's why I want to emphasize that and thinking of like what you can put on your resume. This is it. Relevant coursework. Okay. So yeah. So again, if you're kind of just starting your resume, take a look at the resume workshop recording from last week. It'll be helpful. Okay, so lastly, I mentioned this earlier. Coffee with a Professor is a program at UCSD that allows you, the undergrads, to meet and have coffee with a faculty member or even a graduate teaching assistant to gain insight about course or even professional development, learn about their research, learn about their career path, their work experience, and if you're like wanting to become a professor or not even a professor, like if you want to do the type of research or any work experience that this professor might have, yeah, might be a good program for you. You can participate in Coffee with a Program once per quarter during the academic year only. And you do have to apply for it. So you apply by week 5 of each quarter. So for fall quarter, that would be, we start late September, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have the end of until October 23rd to apply for this program. Okay. And the way you do is you would apply on students.ucsd.edu, but it is specifically for your college. So if you're a Muir College student, you would apply on the Muir College website. If you're, ERC, Roosevelt College, then you would apply on that website. But it's a form, right? And you should have already like set a date with to meet with a professor on campus. I would have that first before, applying for that, and then so that you can, yeah, so you don't have to spend your own money on coffee, but you can cover the cost with this program. So, okay, cool. So we made it through. That was a lot of information. So here's some next steps for you. Search for more professors to reach out to, draft your cold email, and you can meet with me once fall quarter starts. Please mention that you completed the workshop or watch the recording if you're not here live, so that I know that you have this all these basic foundations that we talked about today. Mhm. Yeah, that's all I have in terms of content. I'm gonna take a look at the Q&A. Let's see. I'm gonna answer some questions. Let's see. Are transcripts of my previous CC useful? I don't think it's needed when you're cold emailing, but sometimes professors do ask for your transcripts. So I would say provide them if they're asked for. And sometimes when you apply to research programs, they're also asked for too. So I don't think that they're totally necessary when you're cold emailing the professor. Okay, should I include grades for those specific classes with lab/research involvement? Like, how about talking about informal research papers, project and solving, soft research? No, if it's a resume, I would not include grades. If you pass the class, then you pass. If you failed it and didn't actually do the class or something, then maybe not include it. But no, on a resume in general, you don't want to include grades, so no. And talking about informal research papers, soft research, depends what you mean by informal research papers. If it was like a course assignment, yes. If it was something you kind of did like independently on your own, it wasn't part of a class, maybe not. But if it was a course-based one, yes. Um, if I didn't receive a degree in my previous institution, should I include the school in the resume? Not getting a degree at my previous. But I didn't receive a degree in my um I'm not sure how to answer this question. But did you take classes at all? Yeah. So if you don't mind sharing some clarification on that question, I'd be happy to answer. And then another question, are we still hiring for student assistants? Yes, that is an active search until August 23rd. What is the faculty mentor training program? I wonder if you're referring to the faculty mentor program. or the faculty mentor training program. I know what the FMP one is, faculty mentor program, which is independent. You would be doing independent research under the guidance of a faculty mentor, and you would have to reach out to your faculty mentor on your own. But this is just FMP, faculty mentor program. I'm not sure if FMTP is. Um, Going back to Fiona's question. Um, so for your resume, you can include, yeah, I would include it. Even if you didn't get your degree, a lot of transfers go to community college and don't necessarily get a degree, like an associate. So yeah, you can put that on your resume. That's fine. Okay, regarding the coffee meetup with professor, after applying for it, should we also cold email the said professor too? You should already have cold email professors and have like a set date um while you're applying for the coffee meet with the professor. Yeah. To submit, let me get back. Um, to submit your resume for your student assistant, email us at tritontransfers@ucsd.edu. Um, it is okay to look at it while taking in-person classes with at least a dozen units. Um, I believe 12 units is full-time. So yeah, student assistant position is open to full-time status. Okay, is there a way to find labs with specific research topics? For example, something like neuroscience research and memory. Um, I come across this a lot with students in that oftentimes they're trying to look for a very specific topic can be a little challenging. But what you can do is kind of start general. So if you're thinking about neuroscience, you might want to um, check out the neuroscience major department and then see what kind of labs and what kind of faculty and publications they've done in this one and see if any kind of like match what it is. But I would say have an open mind because it is kind of hard if you're thinking about something very specific. Also, if I'm not sure what major you are, but if let's say you're a neuroscience major but you see something in psychology or biology, like that's fine. You can go in between different types of major departments. I would say like that's up for grabs, open. So as long as the lab doesn't specifically ask for just a student in a certain major. And then aside from writing good cold emails, is there any other way to make this stand out among the cold emails? Um, Cold emails is a good start. I also think that students have found success in looking for research or obtaining research opportunities and connecting with professors is in person too. We did have a peer coach last year that kind of did that, went to their office hours in person once fall quarter started. And in class, I think that professor mentioned a talk that he was giving like later in the week, and that student also showed up there and introduced himself, was like, oh hey, like I'm in your class and I found this interesting, or said hi really quick. So yes, cold emails are good. Do they have a 100% success rate? No, but um we can always talk if you tried cold emails and you're like, I'm not getting anywhere. We can always talk and see how I can support you. Mhm. Oh, great question. Um, what would they put for the email subject line? This is a good question. What you can say is something along the lines of like, um, interested in research. You can say student interested in research. or introduction or something like that. So you can write something along those lines. And again, it depends on your intention with the cold email. If you're requesting a faculty mentor, you could say faculty mentor program or something like that. But if you're kind of just like wanting to meet to learn about their research, you can say like interested in your research, like and wanting to possibly set up a Zoom. But yeah, great question. And then there's a question, will there be an event as to how to enroll to our classes? We won't have something like that. If you do need support with general questions on like TSS, or I should say very, very general, how to submit questions to your academic advisor, you can email us. I would even recommend booking with a peer coach so that they can kind of walk you through the virtual advising center, or use plans.ucsd.edu to help you plan out your classes as yeah, some general guidance. So yeah, those could be some two things. All right, great. You all have been keeping me busy with questions and I love it. Um, yeah, I hope this was helpful. So faculty mentors, um, let me go back just a little bit. So 2 weeks ago, we had a webinar on research opportunities. And some of these research opportunities are housed under the undergraduate research program. Undergraduate Research Hub, I should say. They house some programs. There is this program called the Faculty Mentor Program, in that you would do independent research under the guidance of a faculty mentor for 2 quarters. Before applying, they do ask that you find a faculty mentor, and then they list all the expectations of the faculty mentor. Oversee the student's research, provide the student with resources, training, and feedback as appropriate. Ensure that the student completes all required training and certifications, etc. So these are what's highlighted here is like what faculty mentors do under the context of a research program. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful. But sometimes faculty professors can become your mentor just kind of like organically too. Sometimes professors can take you under their wing in that way. But if it's not like under a structured program, yeah, sometimes that happens. Okay, if we have declared a major, does that mean we can't approach professors of other faculties? No. Yeah, if you're from one major, you definitely are able to reach out to other professors from other majors. Um, Unless that professor says that, they're a professor in the bio department. Yeah. And they're like, I only work with bio students, then there you go. But yeah, in general, no, it's open. Okay. Right. Any other research related questions? Sharing the screen. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Hopefully this was helpful, and we will see you either in fall or winter quarter. Best of luck with everything.